Welcome back. I'm Chris.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Kris Greenhill's Garage. In today's video, we're putting tailpipes back on Kris Jr.'s 1982 Ford Mustang GT. We're going to jack up the car, mock up the tailpipes, see what all we need to modify, and then hopefully at least start getting the tailpipes on the car today. This might take a few days because we're going to have to modify and customize a couple of things because the tailpipes that came off the car are not the same as the tailpipes that are going on the car. But let's get started on that. Please pardon me, I'm losing my voice again. As part of our tailpipe install and our drive shaft install, we have the mufflers removed to fit our drive shaft safety loop. We have an open H pipe. We're going to fire it up and see what it sounds like. Go for it, buddy. Oh yeah, she loud. Hey Chris, what do you think? You want to just drive it like this? No? Are you sure? Listen how good it sounds. Oh my God. You sure you don't want to go test drive it real quick?
Test drive.
What if we just leave the mufflers off forever?
That's your car.
All right. So we did not videotape this as part of our tailpipe replacement, but we got our mufflers off the car because of our drive shaft safety loop not fitting with the mufflers on. We couldn't get it in place. The mufflers are off. We're gonna go ahead and start welding on them, and I have no idea what these are. I was told they're Mack Pro Chamber when I bought the car, and everything else in the exhaust is Mack. I don't think this is Mack. This is some kind of multi-chambered muffler. I gotta admit, these did not sound all that great on the car when it was on the car. They are not Mack. They don't say Mack. They don't say Flowmaster. They don't say anything. They didn't sound all that good on the car. They had a very weird, echoey sound to them. They had a sound like something was partially clogged in them or something, but they look like they flow okay. But anyway, we're going to cut all this nastiness off of them, weld on our adapters to get our tailpipes on the car. We got our muffler here on the cutting, welding / table saw table. We're going to cut all this off. We're going to weld this adapter on. This is the adapter we're going to use to put the tailpipes on the car. This is a 2.5 to 2.5. Our tailpipes are 2 1/4, but they didn't have one of those. So what I've done is I've slit this so that I can take an exhaust clamp, put around this, and tighten this down. So I put 4 slits in each one. We're going to weld them this way, and the pipes will go in there, and then we'll tighten this down. Junior's going to start grinding and cutting all this off, and then we're going to weld this in place. Fun, huh? Well, that's interesting. This muffler seems to have been welded over and on a couple of different times. It seems to have a couple of different size pipes and stuff inside it all held together. Very oddly. But anyway, we're going to finish cutting this off and see what we can do to get our adapter on there. Alright, it's kind of unusual. It's like a pipe inside a pipe here. Not sure what the deal is, but we're going to try to get our adapter on there. Alright, it looks like that's just going to sit inside of there. And it looks like we're just going to have to fill that gap with weld. The welds on this thing are absolutely horrible. They're just big globs everywhere. It's an absolutely terrible job. I'm trying to cut all of this off I can. Neither the cutoff wheel nor the Sawzall liked this job. But we finally got both of these cut off. This one seems to have an entirely different interior pipe size on it. I can't get this to fit in there like I did the other one. So we're going to have to do a little grinding and cutting and modifying. Good times. Junior's going to clean up the spots we have to weld. Here's Junior attaching our adapter to our muffler, trying to fill in that gap. as much weld as possible. He's doing a really good job. Let's stop and check your work. All right, that's good. Check your work. We have some extra old 3-chamber Flowmaster mufflers sitting around. That would probably sound better than these things, whatever they are, but we didn't want to take the time to have to cut the flow tubes off and redo them and start over. So this is the path of least resistance to get the tailpipes on for now. Here's the first muffler extension done for our tailpipes. Junior welded this entire thing all by himself. He is learning. It is a work in progress. It is not beautiful, but it holds. We stuck a light in there. We stuck a light in the muffler. There was no light coming through, so it is sealed. And now he's going to finish up the second muffler, and we're going to get these things back on the car so we can start mocking up our tailpipes. Spread a little bit of high temp paint over the raw welds to keep them from rusting out too bad, and as soon as the other muffler's done, we'll get them installed. It's a few days later. We didn't film it, but we did put our mufflers back on and take this thing for a test drive as part of the fitment process for the drive shaft safety loop, and you can see it up there, which fits fine. Everything drove fine, perfectly normal, but the mufflers are back on. Now I'm under here and I'm going to try to fit the tailpipes, or at least mock them up to test fit them. Kris Jr. is actually sick today, so while he is here, he is not going to be able to help. So I'm going to try to get these things in and see how they fit. Here are the old tailpipes that I couldn't stand. Just some rusted out factory 2 1/4 inch pipes with big gaudy tips on them. I think they're like 3 1/2 inches. Can't stand those things. Here are the tailpipes that are going on it. They're just factory 87 to 93 LX tailpipes, 2 1/4. You can see that we took the time to kind of wipe one of them off and clean it up, not the other, but that's what it'll look like, and we'll clean them up again here soon. So I've already discovered the hard way that the extender we put on these things is too long. It is pushing the tailpipe too far to the rear of the car, and the curve of the tailpipe is not wanting to go over the axle properly. So I may have to trim those down. I've already had to jack up the muffler up over the axle just to get the tailpipe in there because of how close it is to the curve here. This curve is supposed to be right over the axle, obviously, and those extenders are too long. I may have to cut those down here in a little while. Fun. Well, this is good. All hope is not lost. I was able to get that tailpipe stuck in that extender. Had to kind of ream it out a little bit to make it fit at an angle. I got the hump of the pipe over the axle where it clears. The axle is jacked all the way up now. And the tailpipe is fitting roughly where it should fit. And the good news is there's even a spot to hang the muffler hanger, or the tailpipe hanger. So that's good. That's a little encouraging. Now to see if I can get the other side to fit this well. I just realized why I can't get the tailpipe to hang exactly where I want. The gas tank is hitting it. I'm not sure if the gas tank's supposed to be bent like that or not, or if the previous tailpipe hit that, or what the deal is, but I'm going to try to get that out of the way and clearance it. You can see in order for the tailpipe to go up where I want it, it hits. I think I fixed that problem. I realized we had the mufflers way too centered. We tightened them down. They were way too close to the drive shaft and hanging at an odd angle. So I loosened the flow tube over here and adjusted this, and now it's hanging further towards the outside, and it's hanging all the way down against the muffler hanger, whereas a minute ago it was actually bolted on so tight the hanger was just flopping loose. Now with the muffler loose and the tailpipe loosened, I can now put the tailpipe where I wanted it in line with the body curve here. It is clearing the gas tank. It is clearing the frame rail up there. It is clearing the differential. And I think that'll work. And there are the remnants of an old exhaust hanger up here. It looks like it just ripped and rotted out, so I may be able to use those exhaust hangers over there on the old pipes and just bolt them right up there. That would be great. Things are going so well today, I might actually be able to finish it. So I've decided to go ahead and try to start cleaning up the other tailpipe just in case things do end up going well. I had not anticipated being able to finish this today. Figured it would be at least tomorrow, but I'm going to clean up this tailpipe and try to get it hung and mocked up and see if I can get those hangers installed. I think I've mentioned it in other videos, but I found the best thing to remove old just built up grease and rust and crust is a foaming cleaner. Any foaming cleaner. This is just carpet and interior spray. That's all this is. And I'm just spraying it on, letting it foam just a little bit, and then wiping it off. And the tailpipe looks 20 years newer than it did 5 minutes ago. Pro tip, guys. Carpet foaming cleaner or glass foaming cleaner does amazing. Our luck has sort of run out. The passenger side tailpipe went in just fine. No problem there. Loosen the muffler, let it hang naturally again. It goes right up where I want it, pretty much. The only issue is there's no exhaust hanger over here, or a place for it, and I believe that's because these cars from the factory were a single exhaust in 1982. I believe they just had one pipe or a Y pipe, and I believe it just came out on the driver's side. This car, of course, is heavily modified and has no 1982 parts left, so it's never had an exhaust hanger over here, so I got to figure something out. Yeah, our luck has run out quite a bit. So these exhaust hangers will probably work, but they're made to bolt this way. And the only place to bolt them this way is way up here. But these hangers are way over here, but not so far that I can put them over here. Need to be right here, kind of free floating somewhere in the middle. And that's not going to work. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. I was having a lot of trouble videoing under the car with only one set of hands trying to hold everything in place. I got these kind of mocked up where I wanted them. They were sitting okay. Then I realized there's just not enough exhaust pipe left to get in those extenders that Junior welded on the mufflers without more extension. These just would not sit in there properly. So I went to the auto parts store and bought some more extenders. And I'm going to tack weld these on real quick so I can slide these in the muffler so they can at least stay in place. These things just, you can tell where these are kind of bowed out, and these just kept popping out, and there just isn't enough meat here to hold them in place. So I'm going to weld these on. Yay, more welding, just what I wanted. Unfortunately on this pipe, there's not enough meat to cut all this off and weld this up here, so I'm having to fill this entire giant gap here with wire. Yay. Cannot believe this. I got both of these tacked up and I am out of welding wire. I'm also running out of patience and time. I have an idea. Not a good idea, but it's an idea. Not really a question of will I burn through this pipe, because I definitely will. It's a matter of how badly and can I fix it afterwards. But this is happening. This is absolutely horrible. I could not get the temperature right. I didn't have the stick I wanted. They are absolute trash, but they work. They're they're sealed and they'll hold, so we're going to call that good enough. Little high temp black exhaust paint, and all is right in the world. Sure, I could go through and grind these down and make these look nice and pretty, but it is what it is. Time to put them on. Good news, after all that, these extensions are too long. I do need to cut them about in half, and then I'll have the length that I need to go in there properly. Let's try that again. It turns out I had to go and grind down my blob welds anyway, because they just would not slide into the muffler extensions with the blobs on there. Good times. Probably the 500th time it has cost me more time to shortcut something than to do it right the first time. You'd think I'd learn by now, but you'd be wrong. Sorry, I have not been able to record any of this, but I think I've found a balance where everything lines up where it's supposed to be. I found a place to mock up a hanger, and I think that's going to hold the pipe where I want it, on this side at least. Nothing's tightened down. I'm going to try to get the other side on first and make sure everything looks normal and looks right before I tighten it up. I think I'm done. I've got clearance everywhere I need it. They're sitting fairly close to how I wanted them. They're not riding exactly how I wanted or how I envisioned, but the rear end is up to ride height and they seem to clear everywhere and they're looking pretty good. So I need to look at them from the side now. I guess that's pretty good. It's not horrible. Believe it or not, that off-road suspension setup there is ride height. We never did cut those rear springs. Here's the other side. They look pretty good. They're just not exactly how I envisioned it, but I guess that's gonna have to do it. If anything goes wrong or we don't like them, we'll come back out here and readjust them here soon. But I'm gonna make sure everything's double tightened up and double check everything and lower it on the ground and see how it does. Here's the car on the ground with our off-road stance. Believe it or not, that is sitting flush on the ground at ride height. Here's our driver's side pipe, and I've already noticed, I think this sticks out like an inch further, maybe not, but I still think it sticks out a little bit further than the passenger side. Here's the passenger side. They don't look bad. It's not exactly how I envisioned, but they don't look horrible. So I'm going to fire it up, and even though he's been sick and running a fever, I'm going to get the boy out here to tell me what he thinks of him. Alright, I've already discovered an exhaust leak that I'm going to have to fix on the driver's side, so it is much quieter inside and all around. Even with no interior, it's much quieter inside, but I'm going to have to turn this off and fix that exhaust leak before I carry on. Well, I was trying to adjust one of our cheap little exhaust clamps. It snapped off. The crazy part is I was not tightening it. I was loosening it. And it just popped off while backing it off. So the exhaust leak isn't getting fixed today. I'm almost out of time. It's almost dark. And I gotta go. Hopefully I can get it fixed tomorrow. Hey Chris, other than the exhaust leak, what do you think? They look good? Hopefully it's just this driver's side of the exhaust clamp broke. Other than that blowing sound, I think they'll sound really good. Check out how much quieter it is inside. There's a lot quieter in here. Even with all this all open, so much quieter in here. A lot quieter in here now. Let me get behind it and listen to it rev. Go ahead. 100 throttle, you can't even hear that exhaust leak. It sounds great. So hopefully I can patch that up tomorrow. All right. How you feeling?
Good. It's good.
Good. If you're feeling good, you should have been out here working with me, boy. Little reference, the old nasty exhaust pipe on the ground and the new one on the car. It is the next day. I've already gotten another muffler clamp. Hi, Janie. That is the other shop cat, Janie. That's the mother of Jubilee from the last video. She's going to get in my car. Anyway, I got a new muffler clamp, and I got everything massaged into position. By massaged, I mean I hit it with a hammer really hard. This is about an inch further back into the muffler. I had to massage this also to get this to hang, but everything looks pretty good. Let's fire it up. Hey, Janie. Good old lady. Completely cold start for our friend Lynn running deer. Come on, baby, don't embarrass me. Oh. Yeah, that starter is not liking life. Anyway, fired right up. That idle, that should be the cold idle cam. Sounds a lot better back here, but I can definitely hear something leaking. I'm gonna go find it. Driver's side's about 99% now. Now the passenger side is leaking. And the lower the idle, the more you can hear that exhaust leak, the crackle. So I'm gonna have to turn this off before it gets hot and fix that. So the extra pipe that I cut off of these things, I actually kind of needed it on the passenger side, didn't need it on the driver's side. It was too long on the driver, now it's too short on the passenger. But I think I finally have everything mostly lined up. I think I have the pipes mostly the same length out of the bumper. Let's see from the top. It's fairly close. Look pretty good from the sides. They're sitting about where I want them. Let's see if it's still leaking. It is sounding better back here, but it is definitely still leaking just a little underneath. Let me see if I can figure out where. I discovered that when I went to massage the tailpipe hanger again to make it fit better, I'd actually knocked the entire tailpipe out of the muffler, which is why it was leaking so badly. So let's go see how it sounds now. Well, crap. The passenger side seems fine. Now the driver's side is leaking quite a bit. Back to the driver's side to try to fix it. I hated to do it, but I went ahead and loosened everything back up. Filled the cracks and crevices with some copper gasket seal. And I'm going to let it dry a couple hours. I tried to get more exhaust clamps, but the local store was out of them. So I've got 2 more in order, so I can have 2 per side to help seal that up a little bit better. And once I've got that on, in 2 more hours, I'll go get those clamps. And I'll put 2 on each side, let that gasket seal dry a little and see if it's any better. And yes, I know this is not the proper way to do this, but the whole point of this was to make our tailpipes removable in case we needed to move them again. So yeah, I should have just welded them on, but we might want to use these tailpipes again soon, and we may be changing mufflers also. So this is how it's going to go. I have my heat gun out, and I am encouraging the gasket seal to dry and set and firm so that it'll be ready to go when I get my other exhaust clamp. Judging by the smoke coming out the tailpipe, I'm going to go ahead and say it's going fairly well. That worked very well. Very firm. Oh, still hot, still hot, still hot. But very firm, very dry. Good deal. I'm finally back with new exhaust clamps, and I was able to close that pipe off twice as well with 1 on each side. I probably took more than 1/4 inch of slack out of the first one by adding the second one, so hopefully this works. When running deer, let's see if we can get a good cold start this time. Yeah. There we go. Things are sounding much better back here. Not sure what's spitting out that tailpipe, but things are sounding a lot better back here than they were. I don't hear anything underneath the car. I think our problems are solved. Car is back on the ground, looking pretty good, sounding 100%. I'm happy with it. Let me see what the boy thinks. What do you think, buddy? Sound a lot better in here?
Yeah, sounds good.
Roll the window down. As you can tell, Kris Jr. has finally joined us. He's feeling better, but not good enough to work on the car, apparently. We're going to take this for a quick little spin and just see how it sounds in here. Without the interior in the car, it's still loud in here. The transmission's whining. You can hear every little pebble hitting the bottom of the car, but the exhaust tone is about half of what it was.
Yeah.
Now at highway speeds, are you glad to have the tailpipes back on? Now that with tailpipes, we can hear the rear end whining again. Good times, good times. Well, this thing is really, really quiet. Just cruising around at idle speed. I don't even remember it being this quiet after a few weeks of running dumps. It's pretty nice. Good news! We need to get the car home immediately. Driving around, the tachometer died and the engine started missing. Looks like we got another electrical short somewhere. The road goes on forever and the party never ends. Future Kris here with a quick short little interjection. Just ignore what you're going to hear here in a moment about electrical shorts and all that. Just never happened. Pretend it didn't exist. This is a quick, easy 5-minute fix. I'm sure it could never happen again. I'm going to blame our aftermarket fuse box and absolve myself of all responsibility fully. And I ask that you ignore all previous wiring videos in this car because this is clearly not my fault. Anyway, carrying on. Well, thank you for joining us and watching us install the tailpipes in this car. What should have been a nice, quick, easy task was very overly complicated and convoluted. But we now have leak-free, removable tailpipes on the car, and they look good. They look like factory tailpipes, which was the goal. So thanks for watching. Join us here soon as we start welding sheet metal panels into our rust holes in the floorboard for our interior restoration, and depending on how bad this electrical short is, that might be its own video. Right now the dash is working and everything factory is working. I think something went amiss in my aftermarket fuse box I have wired over here. Can you imagine me wiring something incorrectly?
I can't imagine you wiring something correctly.
You're a terrible son.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. I'm Kris.
I'm Kris.
Bye-bye.